Well, President Obama's planned overhaul of America's healthcare system is getting second opinions from political doctors on both sides of the aisle. But as the politicos look for the right diagnosis to offer healthy insurance to nearly 50 million uninsured Americans, some are waiting for a shakeout in the system. Concierge doctors. They're becoming popular with doctors and patients alike. Some say it is a return to the old-fashioned house calls. Others say it's only for the rich. It's a hot-button issue, the latest in America's national health care debate. So what's the future for health care and the government? Is it the answer? Here is my take. Number one, I don't believe the government is the option, but I do think we need to drive down costs, which may mean more competition. Number two, the issue is how we create competition to drive the costs down. We need to ultimately be willing to explore multiple options, including perhaps even cooperatives. And number three, healthcare reform is needed. It's almost 18% of GDP. The rising costs are ultimately a killer for small businesses. I'm still not sure how we will pay for it, and that, at the end of the day, will be a major source of confrontation among members of Congress and the American people. All right, joining me now from Chicago, the former Health and Human Services Deputy Secretary Eric Hargan. In Phoenix, Dr. Stephen Knoop, a concierge primary care physician and author of Concierge Medicine, a new system to get the best health care. And in our studio, let's first, if we don't mind, get to Dr. Knoop.
Sure, Alexis. Concierge medicine is really nothing more than returning to the days of Marcus Welby, where people have a personal physician who they have access to. So my patients, as we speak, have 24/7 access to me for any medical emergencies. They can see me on a same-day basis. They'll get house calls if they need it, executive physicals, and even true health and wellness care, meaning I've got a gym, a registered dietitian in my office. So everything from health, wellness care to the ICU is taken care of by your personal physician, as opposed to a big corporation or a government bureaucracy. There are many different forms of concierge medicine, and there are literally hundreds of concierge doctors now offering very fine medical services for $100 to $150 a month. Now, I would argue that that's the cost of a price of a pack of cigarettes a day or a Starbucks Frappuccino. So when you're talking about personal responsibility, you know, I think if health is important to people, I think they should step up to the plate and pay for it. Now, I'm not here advocating concierge medicine as a single solution to the global problem of health care, but we need to get out of this silly idea that there is a utopian system created either by business or by the government which is going to solve all of our health care problems. We already know that the government has failed miserably in terms of its nationalized medical experiments, which are Medicare and Medicaid. These systems are simply going bankrupt, as is Social Security. So, you know, if you use the analogy of having a child, if you give them a couple of credit cards and they run through 2 or 3, you know, the answer is not to trust them and give them a credit card with a higher limit. And I think that's what we're going to do if we trust these politicians to run our healthcare system. It is simply going to be a dismal disaster.
Doctor, very well said. Mr. Secretary, you have a reaction to that?
Well, I do think that there is a problem with adding a public plan onto the existing public plans we have. I think that, you know, there have been some calls to fix Medicare first, which I think is a good idea. You know, we already have a large governmental system that is having trouble with payments. We have already a government insurance plan, and it is, as the doctor points out, going bankrupt. So the idea that we fix the problems the government has by adding on tens of millions more people possibly to that plan seems to me sort of the height of folly. And it will increase government decision-making in healthcare decisions. There's really no way around that. You know, the old golden rule, he who has the gold makes the rules, and that applies to government as well as anything else. The more we shift to a government system, the more there's going to be a need for concierge doctors. But it simply can't be the new model. It can't be the system that we have for 300 million Americans. We can't have taxes, and on top of that, retainer fees for concierge doctors, and then the cost of medical care on top of that.